Thomas Borgé was sentenced to 129 years by Somoza. He was kept hooded, naked, half-starved. While he was in prison, his wife was raped and murdered, and he later found her in a mass grave.
A
whole range of crimes were committed here. For example, there were National Guards who not only killed Nicaraguans, but also tortured them. There were cases where people's skin was scraped off with shaving knives, alive. Others where their eyes were gouged out with spoons. Others were castrated. There was a range of cruelty here which I don't think would fit into an encyclopedia.
Today in Nicaragua, says Amnesty International, no allegations of torture have been substantiated. In individual cases of ill treatment, Amnesty told us, those responsible have been punished by the Nicaraguan authorities.
Tengo una especie de amnesia por todo lo que pasó aquí.
I have a sort of amnesia about everything that happened here. Today, I don't remember the bad moments. I've rubbed them from my memory. I think that to remember bad moments is a way of retaining bitterness. I prefer to forget, so that the bitterness and grudges can be replaced with compassion.
Such an attitude has helped to create a possibly unique example of penal reform. This is the only fence on this farm which is also a prison. There are no guards. The staff consists of 2 agricultural teachers. This prisoner was Somoza's personal bodyguard and is described as a former brute, now almost rehabilitated. Here, the only potential weapons are these machetes, which the prisoners are trusted to use in clearing a baseball pitch. In 2 years, 1 man has walked away. Of course, there is a risk and a dilemma to all this. Since the Sandinistas came to power, they have let go 2,500 National Guardsmen, and many of them went straight to Honduras, where they were signed up and armed by the CIA. President Reagan has said, "We do not seek to overthrow the government of Nicaragua." This week, November the 15th, 1983, more than 4,000 American combat troops will have arrived in Honduras for what are called maneuvers close to the border with Nicaragua. American troops, says President Reagan, will strike back if they are attacked. President Kennedy gave the same assurance 20 years ago, shortly before the beginning of America's longest war. This was Nicaragua on June the 20th, 1979, a month before the fall of Somoza. The man you see on the ground is Bill Stewart, an American TV reporter. The man standing with a gun is an officer of Somoza's National Guard.
Let him see the picture, or the camera.
Bill Stewart was an ordinary reporter doing his job. His murder on television shocked many Americans and helped to break an historical pattern. For the first time, Washington found it very difficult to justify sending troops to intervene on behalf of their man, Somoza, whom President Carter only a few months earlier had personally congratulated on the improvement on human rights in Nicaragua. On the first anniversary of Bill Stewart's death, here at this street corner in a poor district, a monument was erected. And I, for one, find what it says most moving. In memory of Bill Stewart, he didn't die on foreign soil, and we keep his memory alive because he is part of free Nicaragua. Such is the generosity of spirit so often shown in this small country. In the same barrio, more than 200 young Nicaraguans died fighting the National Guard. One of them was this woman's son, Julio. Her name is Lupita, and she carried her son's tortured body back from the front line and buried it in this, her small dirt garden. Her other son, Manuel, simply disappeared.
Dijo opiniones personales sobre la agresión. Es bastante.
My personal opinion about the aggression is that these people have no feelings whatsoever, because they lived exactly as they pleased for 50 years.
Nosotros los pobres, porque somos bien pobres.
We the poor, and we really are poor, we struggled to earn our daily bread with the pittance we were paid. Yes, I have an opinion about this aggression. Let President Reagan spare a thought that he has children. Let him think that he is supporting genocide. They were murderers here. They had no pity for the young people. It was a crime in Nicaragua to be young. Those brutes, we don't want them in Nicaragua. They carry on killing young men on the borders.
For the people of Nicaragua, those like Lupita, the invasion of their country is imminent, yet again. The following is a summary of United States intervention in its so-called backyard. 1898, President McKinley orders U.S. troops to invade Cuba. 1905, President Theodore Roosevelt orders the invasion of Honduras. 1912, President Taft orders the invasion of Nicaragua. 1914 to 18, President Wilson invades Haiti, Cuba, and Panama. 1924 to 26, President Coolidge invades Nicaragua and Honduras. 1954, Eisenhower approves the overthrow of the elected government of Guatemala. 1961, Kennedy approves a CIA invasion of Cuba. 1965, Johnson invades the Dominican Republic. 1973, Nixon approves the overthrow of the elected government of Chile. 1981, President Reagan approves the CIA secret war against Nicaragua. 1983, President Reagan orders the invasion of Grenada. Their legacy is this remarkable United States military encirclement of the region, a vast ring of Americans on land, sea, and in the air, allowing a rapid deployment force to cover any eventuality, Grenada being the latest example. Since President Reagan came to power, this threat has been turned increasingly against Nicaragua. There have been bombing raids flown by insurgents based in Costa Rica to the south, and from Honduras to the north, the CIA directs, pays, and arms former members of Somoza's National Guard, known as the Contra, some of whom are trained in illegal camps in Florida. Last July, the secret war came into the open with the arrival off Nicaragua of 2 American naval task forces, each with more firepower than the entire U.S. fleet in World War II. Today, 4,000 American combat troops are poised in Honduras, near the border. Ranged against them in Nicaragua are 45 aging Eastern Bloc tanks unsuitable for mountainous jungle and which are liable to break down after 125 miles, plus 3 antiquated Korean War jets, 2 helicopters, a navy consisting of a few patrol boats, a regular army of 22,000 and 25,000 reserves, and a militia. In addition to the threat from outside, the Nicaraguans face 15,000 of these troops, the Contra, heavily armed by the Americans and operating a hit-and-run war from Honduras. This is effectively a CIA private army. Its original aim was to stop the alleged flow of arms from the Sandinistas to the guerrillas in El Salvador. But this was no more than a cover. No convincing proof has ever been produced in public to substantiate a continuing flow of arms, a pretext described by a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee as a farce. The real aim of the Contra is to give the appearance of a civil war in Nicaragua by hitting economic targets and killing people like midwives.